Everyone's having a great day today. First of all, I'd like to thank each and every one of you for all your love and support. With the last video I did, I know that was a few years ago, and I apologize, but I have been getting a lot of requests to finish the mixing a big band tutorial, and that's what I'm doing today. So this will be in a few parts, and so if you're familiar with some of these steps, or if you're familiar with some of the things, you can go ahead and skip to the next video. But if you're not, and you're kind of new, and or if you just want a new way of looking at things, a new way to maximize your workflow, this is the way I do it. Like I said before, there's 100 different ways to do this, and you'll get great results. But there are a few things that a lot of engineers do. That a lot of the same things they do, and to get a good product. So let's go ahead and dive right into this. So as you can see, I have all these tracks here: saxophones, trumpets, bones. This tune has a vocal in it, and this was sent to me by a gentleman who's a big band leader out in the Southwest, and he asked me to. I asked with his permission to use this track, so it's very nice of him. This is a Christmas tune, Let It Snow, and for those of you big band guys out there, you probably recognize the arrangement and know how this goes. So let's dive right into this. So the first thing is first, when I get a new track, the first thing I like to see is I like to have a set workflow. So the first thing I see is the kick, the sub kick, and so I'll put all my drums here. I'll do the rhythm section first because that's what I start with. They're the foundation of the band. Then I have 2 acoustic bass tracks, one on the body of the instrument and one on the fretboard. That's very common. A lot of people do that. Here's keys. This was probably an electric keyboard. I have 5 saxophones, 2 altos, 2 tenors, 1 bari, and a solo tenor sax. 4 trumpets, 3 bones, and a vocal. So the vocal I like to do last because that's the most important thing in a tune. I feel is that if it's a vocal, the vocal is the most important thing. So let's listen to this tune. And as you can see here, I have marked all the like bar 9, all the major bars of the song, so it maximizes my workflow. Now, as you can tell, the gentleman who gave this to me has already done some editing, and that's, in my opinion, one of the most important things you can do in mixing is good editing. Make sure that the hits are all the same. Like say this hit right here. Make sure it's all together. Make sure, and for the most part, it is. Make sure that stuff is make sure that stuff's already done before you even start to mix. Because here's the thing, it's just basically you have a piece of clay and you're just shaving off the rough edges. That's basically what we're doing, and then the mixing is actually the refining, getting rid of the bad and keeping and accentuating the good. See, like right here, he did a pretty good job, and I'm sure I always find stuff to fix. So, but make sure, that your stuff is edited. All the attacks and releases are together, the entrances are together, stuff like that. So this is a very common thing I see in a lot of drum parts, especially with big band stuff. This is what they call scrubbing. And as you can see, like on this floor tom, anytime the drummer hits the tom, what he did is he silenced the track, and then, he muted the track, and then anytime the tom was hit, you hear it there. This is the best kind of gate you can do. I know a lot of people say, well, why not just use a gate? Well, we'll get into that a little later when we start mixing the drums. But here's the thing. This is probably my preferred way when I have time. Sometimes you don't have time and you got to gate everything because the track has to be done. But see, this is just a really clean way of making sure the drums are as clean as possible. Now, sometimes they'll even do this with the kick drum. I've seen that. As you can see here, everything is at unity or at in mono. And so let's just take a quick listen to the track and see what we're dealing with here. All right, so for the most part, it sounds okay. I'm sure we're going to find some things, but first thing is first. This is what I like to do when I start mixing. I go to and every DAW has this, whether you have Pro Tools, whether you have Logic, whether you have, Sonar or, whatever. Every DAW has what they call a trim plugin. And this is what I do. I lower everything 10 dB because here's the thing. I want my tracks to sit in what they quote the sweet spot. Now 10 dB is just a starting point for me. A lot of guys go 6 dB. Some guys go 12 dB. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and put all these trim plugins on my tracks. And what that does, it gives me a nice level to start with. Here's the thing, if these are recorded too hot, you get distortion and, you get yucky tracks. Remember what I told you on the other video, if you have bad tracks to begin with, no matter how good of an engineer you are, you're still going to end up with a crummy product. So, and this looks like this gentleman did a pretty good job recording his tracks. They're not too hot. They're not, So we're going to put everything in unity. So first thing is first. Let's start with panning. Before we do that, let's maximize our workflow. So we have this here. This is Option G for all you Mac users, and this is in Pro Tools. But start creating your groups. So I'll call this drums because it just maximizes our workflow. Right here is bass, and you can do this in Logic, do this in any other DAW you have. Here you got the saxes. That way, if you want to do something globally, you can. We got the trumpets. Got the trombones. Okay, and then we have the Vox. And then what I like to do is I like to do all the horns. So I call this horns. And then I like to do all the rhythm section. And you can do this with a VCA too. For those of you who know what a VCA is, VCA is just like a master fader for tracks that you assign to it. So, but this is just an easy way for me to, even if I have to edit too, some things. So anyway, what I like to do is I like to start off what they call the balancing act. And I'm going to balance my drums. And then what I'll do is I'll bring everything else in later. So we'll go with the drums, solo them. All right, so that's a pretty good level. So here's the thing. Let's take a look at we're going to do some panning here. So now I like to use the drummer's perspective when I mix. Meaning, if you were sitting in the drummer's chair, where would everything be? So the kick is not necessarily straight in the middle. Some guys do that, but to me, if I'm playing a drum set, the kick is always to my right a little bit. So if I was sitting in back of the drum set, it would be off to my right. The floor tom would be to my right. Okay, the high tom would be right in the middle. Or you could put it off to the side. The snare we'll put a little bit to the left because that's where it sits. That's just the way the kit is. the crash, if I'm sitting at the drum set, my crash cymbal is going to be off to my left. My ride's going to be off to my right, and my hat's going to be off to the right here. And then the drum room left and right. So let's go ahead and let's see what that did. All right, let's go ahead and add the bass. Let's add the body first. Let's add the keyboard. Now here, panning the bass, you see how you have the kick drum this way? I like to leave the bass right up the middle. And then the keyboard, I like to pan 9 o'clock and 2 o'clock. Some guys go all the way here. That's your preference, whatever sounds good to you. So let's see what sounds good in this instance. And if you had a guitar, I would put him off to this side too. I'd put him like right here. Okay, great. Now let's do the saxophones. Now, there's 100 ways to pan saxophones. I've seen people go left, right, left, right. I've seen people go, so I like to do what they call, there's a couple ways I like to do this. So first of all, I like to put the bari sax to the bari sax to the far left, and I like to do the tenor sax 2 over here to get like a stereo image, and tenor 1 up here, and alto 2, alto 1, and then here's the solo tenor sax. So you always want to put a soloist of the instrument. Say it's a trombone and you have them on the right, and you have a solo part, pan them over there. It's a good contrast. So we'll get to that later. So let's go ahead and listen to our saxes. Okay, sounds good. We're just doing a balancing act. Now trumpets, I like to keep them somewhat close to the middle. I'll put lead trumpet here, second trumpet off to the left, and like somewhat close to the middle like this. That always works. That's always a good good thing. I like to put trumpets over there. A lot of Capitol Records albums, you hear trumpets. Sometimes you'll hear saxes on all the way panned hard right, or panned hard left, and brass panned hard right. But since it's a big band album, I kind of like to have a nice spread, like if I was actually seeing a big band. All right, that sounds good. Now, my trombone. So, let's start with the bass trombone. Again, I'll put him hard left because then he'll be playing off the bari sax. It's a good trick for your ears. So, and then we'll put trombone 2 or 3 over here, trombone 2 right here, trombone 1 in the middle. Okay, so let's go ahead and...
The fire is so delightful, and since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. It doesn't show signs of stopping, and I brought some corn for pie.
Okay, so now let's look at our overall volume. See, we're getting into some. I like to keep it kind of in the middle, because once we start adding plugins and this, that, and the other, it's going to get louder. So I'm going to bring the volume down just a little bit. See? Okay, now everyone, you're probably saying that sounds pretty good, Joseph. Let's put some EQ and no. So first thing is, now that we did the whole balancing act, that's the first thing I do is I balance everything. I start doing my routing, and you're supposed to do this before you start balancing. But I like to get a good feel of what I need to do. So. What you want to do is you want to create your submixes, meaning all the drums are going to go to like one aux track. All the basses are going to go to one aux track. The saxes, the trumpets, because you want to start doing. We want to maximize our workflow. Now, I know I'm going a little fast here, and I apologize, but if you want to, you kind of in this industry, you kind of have to work fast. So I'll show you my workflow here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here and create 10 stereo aux tracks. Okay, so we're going to go here. Okay. All right, so, and again, I color code these. Okay, so everything has a pipeline, so everything's going to go to an aux. So here's the thing. Here's my what they call mix bus, meaning, all the sounds right before they hit the master fader. Okay, so that's that. And then I like to call this one Vox. And then I'll call the one before it Band. And the one before that Drums. And the one before that P drums, and I'll explain that in a little bit. Horns. Okay. And then so now I got my submixes. And then now I'm going to do my effects here, because we're going to have effects. We're going to have color code these. So here we're going to have we'll call this trombones, and then we'll have trumpets. And then we're going to have saxophones. Okay. And we're going to need some more auxes here. So let's just do that. And maybe add about 4 more. Stereo, aux. Okay, cool. Here we go. So we're going to do this. Okay, and that's where we're going to... Here we're going to put our reverb. This is our drum verb. The verb we're going to use for the drums. I verb. And then B verb. And then room. And then delay. We might not need a delay. Oh, I need one more. Sorry, I forgot one more. I'm working. See, this is what happens when you work really fast. So we're going to route this right here. We're going to call this instruments. Okay. So what that is I'll tell you how everything's going to be routed. This is what we're going to do first. We're going to go ahead and make the inputs to these. And I've already got these named. So mix bus. And then you have the Vox. And then this is our submixes. This is band. Instruments. And this is wait, hold on. Yeah. This is drums. And this is P drums. The NYC drums is short for New York compression, and that's basically a short term for parallel compression, and I'll describe what that is in a second. And then we got our horns, and then we got bones, and then trumpets, saxes, and then again drum verb, my verb, we'll do B verb. There we go. And then we'll call this room right there. All right. And then we got a delay if we need it. Okay, so all right, so let's go ahead and route all this stuff here. We'll start from here. The delay, we're gonna route to the vocal. We're gonna route that to the mix bus. The room, because we got to create a room for all the brass, it's gonna go to the horns. The B verb is gonna go to the horns. Okay. I verb is going to go to the instruments. It's going to be their verb. Okay. And D verb is going to go to the drums. This is going to go to horns. 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 The horns are part of the band. This is going to go to the drums. Drums is going to go to the band. Instruments are going to go to the band. The band is going to go to the mix bus. Vox is going to go to the mix bus, and the mix bus finally goes to the master fader. All right, so let's. All right, so here we're going to do the. We're going to route the drums. Okay, fantastic. Then we're going to route the upright bass and the keys to the instruments. Okay. Then we're going to route the saxophones, just the saxophones, not the solo, to the saxes. Then we're going to route the trumpets to the trumpets. And then we're going to route trombones to the bones. Right, and then we're going to route this to the Vox. There we go. All right, so if you look at it, now we just press play, and what you want to do is solo save these. Okay. Now, we have everything routed, so if we do something globally, it maximizes our workflow.
The fire is so delightful, and since we've no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. It doesn't show signs of stopping, and I brought some corn for popping. The lights are turned way down low. Let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. When we finally kiss goodnight, I will hate going out in the storm.
Okay, so if you guys see what I did is, I don't want to push the volume too much on the vocal. So all I did is I just, killed the trim a little bit. And I'm going to even do it more to like 3 dB. That's a good.
frightful, but the fire is so.
All right, so we got a good mix here. We got a good balance, and that's what you want to start off with. A good balance of everything. You got everything kind of balanced. You got it panned the way you want. And, now you're ready to really start mixing, and you got a really good base here. So before I start mixing, there's one thing I do is I kind of start off with some stock plugins, some stock things that I know that I'm going to use. Now, the first thing I do is I always put a bus compressor on the mix bus. And all it does is just a little bit of glue to put everything together. Watch what happens. I'll bypass it. Okay, so you guys see what happened? I'm going to play that for you one more time. Bypassed. Do you see it just brought the whole track to life? And that's just one little move. And here's another thing I do. Things I know I'm going to do right away is I come up here and I use the SSS channel because this is a plugin I've used all the time. And what I do is I go ahead and roll off the low end on the brass because I know that I'm not going to need anything below 120. So watch what this does. Just this little move. It just cleans things up so much, and it's just a small little move. We didn't really do much. So yeah, it's just, it's crazy. So what again? I'll play it with the plugin engaged and with the plugin not engaged. So here we are. Come on. Okay, bypass. This is just a roll off. Okay, now I'm going to engage it, meaning roll off all the low end that we don't need. Again, that was just one small move. Again, it's the little things you do in mixing that's going to equal a big difference in your mix. Great little moves equals great big things. So, okay, and in the next video, what we're going to do is we're going to work on the rhythm section, the drums, the upright bass, and the keys. We're going to start mixing those. See you in the next video.